And investors are lacing up with Nike shares. They're gaining 3.7% after the athletic apparel giant reported a fiscal fourth quarter top and bottom line beat. Regarding profits, adjusted earnings came in at 20 cents a share versus the 13-cent estimate. And by the way, the adjusted earnings did not include the tariff refund Nike got of $986 million. Nike did say, and here's what's really helping the stock, that its gross margins improved by 8.9% during the period. But the Just Do It company did cut its sales outlook for the first half of fiscal year as it cannot seem to shake the slump. CFO Matt Friend said that on the call that its consumer is still under pressure around the world and is not expecting improvement over the next 6 months. Nike's revenue in North America climbed 3% year over year, but did fall short of estimates. The company continues to lose its footing in China as sales drop 12% year over year. Here's the thing. Nike's in the middle of a turnaround plan implemented by CEO Elliott Hill, who took the helm in 2024. He said on the call the company is fully committed to winning back the China region and is not yet living up to its full potential. I visited the Nike campus on June 4th and talked to CEO Elliott Hill in a Fox Business exclusive, who said Nike is returning to its roots and will focus on sports. Quote, "When we lead with sport, we win." Joining me now in a Fox Business exclusive to see if they will win and if Nike's turnaround strategy of business of fashion, sports, and fashion correspondent Mike Sykes. Mike, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. You heard about Nike earnings. You've got your finger on the pulse of the entire sportswear and fashion industry. Who's wearing it best in footwear, and does this help Nike move up a bit in the race?
I think this does help Nike move up a bit in the race. I would say that at this point, the company is still, like, the turnaround is still pretty slow right now. But I think they're going to get a boost from the World Cup coming up in these next couple of quarters. It won't be a massive boost, but it will be enough for people to notice. And then I think that the company also is just investing in all of these different avenues, these different areas that I think in the long game will end up proving to sort of boost Nike's stock a little bit.
Let's talk about the World Cup. LSEG did a study, and it's pretty fresh. And look at what they said about the sellout rate of Nike World Cup merch versus Adidas. Now, keep in mind, Nike, I believe, has the kits. This is what we learned when we went to Beaverton last month with Elliott Hill. It's got kits for 12 of the countries. Nike's sellout rate over just the 2-week period that we've come through is 28% versus Adidas, or Adidas, depending on what country you're in, 7%. Will that eventually translate to better numbers? And here you go with the merch items. Nike has 803 merch items. Adidas has 608. So, when do you start to see the positive aspects of this merchandise, which Nike is charging more for and getting the money for?
Yeah, I think you'll see some of the positive momentum from some of these items over these next 2 quarters. Again, it will be slow. It will be it'll seem minuscule, but I think as Nike sort of goes into that back half of fiscal 27, as we get to spring 2027, that's when we're going to start to see sort of the I don't want to call it a wave of momentum for Nike, but I think this is when we're going to really see some of the reverb from the World Cup come into play. And I think Nike has done a really great job of positioning itself in a position of strength from the point of view of sports through the World Cup. You've got the Rip the Script ad. They've gone with this.
It's great. I love that.
Yeah, it is really just a ubiquitous ad that I think a lot of people can connect to because of the athletes in the ad and the celebrities in the ad. There are just so many ways for people to come in on it, and I think that is sort of building a bit of cultural momentum for Nike, while it also is building up this momentum for the product as well. So I think after these first couple quarters, we'll see a little bit, but then once you get to that spring 27 period, that's when Nike is really looking to sort of put the pedal to the metal there.
I know, because you live and breathe this stuff, and you know that one division is an absolute free fall, and that is Converse. Converse just can't get out of the way of itself. Nobody's buying these things. My question is that the next asset that Nike needs to sell?
So I can see both sides of it here. I think that in speaking with people from Nike, speaking with insiders there, they have continued to say that they have no intention of selling Converse. This is not something that they are interested in, even though you look at it and you see that they've cut Converse's demand creation budget by 44%. So now it's $24 million as opposed to $43 million that it was last year. And that's a big signal for people that, hey, like, maybe Nike isn't necessarily as invested in this company as we think that it is, and maybe this is a sign that they're going to sell. Mm-hmm. But I also, on the other side, am saying to myself, if I were going to sell an asset, I'm not really sure that I would be pulling things back from it. I'm not really sure that I'd take a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's the MB.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Didn't he just switch from Converse to Nike basketball, which kind of is a signal, is it not, that maybe they're pushing Converse to the side?
Nike will tell you that the reason that they've moved Shai is to sort of put Nike, big Nike, right? The main company's marketing dollars, grown-up Nike, to put the company's marketing dollars behind Shai, right? To use the resources that they would use for like a LeBron James or Kevin Durant or even Caitlin Clark soon, Asia Wilson. Like, they want to put that same momentum behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you just can't really do that at Converse. And I do buy that. Like, Converse is not the basketball brand that it was 30 or 40 years ago. As good as the Shai 001 was last year, like, there is still another level that I believe that it can hit. And Nike will say that, hey, like, we are now focused on the classic styles with Converse, the Chuck Taylor, the Jack Purcell. But also on the other end of that, you kind of wonder, is that the right strategy? Because leaning on those classic styles is also kind of what got Nike into the place that it's in with its main business. So doing that with Converse, like, how smart of a strategy is that? Is that the right play to make? And we'll find out in these next couple quarters. And they have Investor Day coming up in November where they'll go over a lot of the details in that strategy.
Mike, before we go, there's so much to talk about. The China business is still floundering, but the hero product, what is going to be Nike's hero product? Nike Mind, these are the sort of health clogs. We've got some right here. These things are also selling out. They've done actually pretty well. Is it this or is it something else? And by the way, Jaylen Brown, I mean, the Knicks went absolutely crazy, and he was wearing those mint green shoes in the first game, the mint green Nikes, and everybody wants those. So I'm just wondering, can they really capitalize on something like that?
Yeah, I think Nike has quite a few irons on the fire right now between what they're planning with Nike football, or Nike soccer as we call it in America. And then, like you said, the Nike Mind, they're really going to lean in on this training aspect of their business, and the Mind is going to be a big part of that franchise. And then, like you said, you got the momentum with the Knicks, so they've got a lot cooking right now. I think there's a lot to look forward to with Nike.
Mike, I hope everybody checks out your Substack, The Kicks You Wear, Mike Sykes of the Business of Fashion. Thank you so much. And by the way, go Team USA. I'm joining the team tonight